welcome back to Monica Cooks. Today I'm so excited because it is canning season, as you all know, tomato season, zucchini season. I heard a joke about make sure your car is locked because somebody might randomly leave some zucchinis in your car because everyone gives them away. It's so funny. But having said that, just want to tell you today I'm going to show you how to make the most delicious jam I think I've ever tasted. Laura, my friend who owns Bread Love in St. Albert, came over last year. I was having a bunch of women over and everyone was bringing appetizers and snacks. And she brought over the most delicious tomato jam. That's right, you heard it right, tomato jam. It was so good. It was a little jar, I almost ate the whole thing. I was so embarrassed. And you put it on, first you have a cracker, like a wheat thins, and you put cream cheese on, and then this tomato jam. It pairs really well with green pepper jam. So the ingredients you're gonna need for this, oh, I should flip you around. So the ingredients you're gonna need is obviously tomatoes. These are all from my garden. There's a few green beans in there. Don't need those, so disregard the green beans. But tomatoes, and hopefully I have 8 cups of chopped tomatoes. So this is my 8-cupper. I hope I do. And then you need Himalayan pink salt, peppers, hot peppers, some fresh ginger, some lime juice. I used to get limes all the time, but then, you know, they just wither up in the fridge if you're not using them. So I thought, why not get lime juice just like lemon juice? So that's what I've been doing. Some cloves and some cinnamon, ground cloves, and sugar. That's it. That's all you need. So right now, I'm going to wash out my canning jars. I always wash out more than I need. I put them in the oven on 250 on a cookie sheet, and that way they get really good and sterile. So the jars are in the oven, and the lids, I just put them in a small saucepan, bring to a boil for 2 minutes, and that's it. That's all I do. So now I'm just going to trim some of this off the tomato, because you know they were outside tomatoes. And then you're supposed to chop them. And one thing the recipe says, this is called Amy's Tomato Jam. So I got this from Laura. Most people think they should skin and seed the jam. And she said, absolutely do not do that because it doesn't give the jam any type of a texture, and it needs to have texture to it. You don't want like a tomato soup, and by peeling it you lose all of that. So I'm just going to carry on here and peel these tomatoes. So I've got my tomatoes here. It's just a little bit over 8 cups, if you can even see the 8-cup mark. Where is it? It's right here. So it's right in here. It looks like garlic. It's grated ginger. It's 2 teaspoons. And then I'm just going to right now start putting everything in my trusty jam pot. We've had this. This was a wedding gift. It was a pressure cooker back in the day. And I love this pot. Love, love, love. It's heavy. It's just the best. I make all my jams in it. It's just Nana's pot. I love it. So I trust it to make my tomato jam. So I'm going to dump all this. This is heavy. They said 5 pounds. I'm pretty sure that's 5 pounds or more. Then the next thing we're going to add to this is our cinnamon, which is 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and then we're going to add a tablespoon of our hot pepper and a tablespoon of the salt. So I've got all the spices in here, and I also added off camera the cloves. It was a 1/2 teaspoon. So now I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of lime juice. Careful. And I read on the bottle that a half a cup of that lime juice is equal to a half a cup of fresh lime juice, because I wasn't sure, because you know it's concentrate and I didn't want to mess it up. And then my 3.5 cups of sugar. And so we'll stir this up. One thing I want you to be very careful of, when they get to a full rolling boil, it rises so quickly that it could overflow and possibly burn you, so be very careful. So when you see it doing that, turn the heat down and also pull it off the burner for a minute. If you need pot holders to do that, make sure you use them. Or for me, I just usually just pull it like that. Just like that. So it's half on, half on. With gas stoves, it's great because the heat responds immediately, but with electric ranges, they stay hot. They don't cool down the second you turn the heat down. So as you can see, this is just about to get to a boil. I love the way it also goes so liquidy. You're like, where did all this water come from? It's the melted sugar and the tomato juice, and oh, I just got a whiff of this. Oh my goodness. Because you know tomatoes are sweet. So, I mean, I just always find it so fulfilling when you make something right from your own garden. You planted it, you pick it, you harvest it, you bring it in, and then you make something with it. I love it. Okay, so just waiting for it to get to a good boil. There we go, there we go. Now I'm turning this down. So I put it on 3. So I'm just gonna let it simmer like this, like they said, for about an hour and a half. And obviously it won't be as rapidly boiling. And I will be back. Do you see how this starts to rise up? It'll settle down in a minute. But I'll be back periodically just to show you what's going on. Okay, we've been simmering in the pot now for 30 minutes. So you can see it's reducing some. But we're wanting it to get thicker and like jam. And it still smells so good. My whole house smells so delicious. Don't you love those autumnal harvest smells when you walk by people's house and they're cooking in the fall? All their windows open and it smells so good. So I'm going to put this on for another the timer for another half an hour. And just let it simmer away. This is the easy part. Okay, this is just about ready. Can you see how it's getting all jammy-like and thin and not so watery? And even on the sides, I mean, it started up here somewhere. It's sticky and jam-like. So I'm just going to let it go a few more minutes. I'm just reboiling my lids and my soup scooper right over there so that I can scoop it into the jars. And I've also brought out my canning because this jam has to be processed. Now don't worry if you don't have a big old canner like this one. I broke down and got one because I just thought, you know what, I do so much jam making and pickles and stuff. So it has a rack in it. And what I'm going to do is set my jars around there. And then you put in enough water to just about cover them. And then you boil it and you let it boil for an hour. And that processes all the jars and the jam in the jars. And if you don't have this, you could take a rack or our Instapot and Instafryers always have a rack in them. You can put that. You just don't want the glass jars touching the bottom of the pot or burner because I think it'll break the glass. So you could use probably a steamer rack or anything that's going to keep it. And if you think you're going to get into jam making and stuff like that, this is the time of year to buy all this stuff. Walmart has a kit and it comes with this. What's the label still on here? Oh yeah, it is. I've had it for so long. It has this. It had 9 jars of the rack. And then it had this thingy. It's magnets. You can lift your lid so you don't have to touch the hot lids. It had a funnel and that funnel over there. So, I mean, this is the perfect time to get the stuff during the fall. This is when it's all available for you. So I'm going to have to go now because I've got all kinds of things going on here. But you can see this is ready. You see that? There's no more wateriness. So I'm going to get my jars out of the oven because I just leave them in there until I'm ready for them. Oh, it also came with the jar gripper thingy. Where is it? Oh, I just had it here. It's around here somewhere. I'll show it to you in a second. So this is the thing to grab the jars. I'll see if I can do it with one hand. See, you squeeze on the bottom because they're hot, right? And then you just put them over there like that. There. So I'm going to carry on here and get all this ready for processing in the canner. So we're just about all done. I got, this was like a little bit left over. So I'm just going to show you how you serve this one way. So I've got some keto crackers over here. That's what you can hear me reaching in the bag getting. And they'll be just fine. So take a cracker, a little bit of cream cheese here. Get this out of the way so you can see it's just in there. Take some cream cheese. This is just one way of serving it. And put it on top of the cracker. And then take some of this tomato jelly. This is still really warm, so it's not quite solidified, but so you can see it there. Spoon it on top, and then taste it. Here we go. It's so good, you guys. You know what makes it delicious? It's a hot pepper. Or not the hot pepper, what are they called? Hot pepper flakes? Oh my goodness. I had to turn off the camera because I was crunching so loud. It is absolutely delicious. Now this will set a bit firmer because you can see on the side of the jar where it's cooled, you see, it's more gel, like jelly. But it's lovely like a spoon jelly as well. And in the recipe, she says this also serves as a very fancy gourmet ketchup, which would be lovely with some kind of pork or steak on the side. Oh, it's so good. So I have my jars here in their water bath, about to be processed. And one thing you need to make sure that the water is 1 inch above the jar lid. So you can see the water line there, and there's the water. And you're going to process this, bring to a boil and process it, meaning let it boil for 20 minutes. So let's put the lid on. Well, I'll have to wait till it starts boiling. I guess I should leave the lid off until I know it is boiling. Getting close. Our tomato jam. Now, to be honest with you, I could have cooked this a little longer to make it a little bit thicker like jam, but Richard and I both said, well, if we want to use it as a gourmet ketchup or anything like that. It's nice to have it a looser consistency. And then if you open one jar, put it in a pot and boil it down before you're gonna take it somewhere. You know what I mean? If you want it thick, you could do that too. It is so good and so worth it, and what a wonderful way to use some of your tomatoes, because we still have a ton more. So thanks for watching.